So as you probably know, 1.21 is changing a lot about how farming in Minecraft is working. We're kind of in a weird transitional state right now where a lot of farms are going to work differently than how they used to, and a lot of other farms are going to become more useful. So with that in mind, I have 3 farms for you today, and I think they'll be useful for a lot of players in the post 1.21 era. So first up, we have this new and improved snow block farm. So this is working the same way as a lot of current designs are. However, now we can automatically craft all these snowballs into snow blocks. So that will make it to where we can output just a crazy amount of items from a little machine just like this. And so this farm works by standing right here on these slabs so that we're perfectly aligned, and having a chest to perfectly align all the snowballs so that they won't fall out in this kind of strange little cage here. And if you'll see, if I just hold this down right here, we're getting tons of snowballs out, and all these snowballs are going into the 2 hopper minecarts, which are putting them directly into all the hoppers below. And as you can see, they're keeping up the pace with these snowballs really well. Although if you wait here long enough, it will start to slowly build up, but you have to wait a long time, go through a lot of durability to do that. And so you can see down below that these crafters are getting the snow blocks from up here, where they're getting the snowballs delivered to them from the top and from the side. And those crafters are shooting them down into a water stream where the snow blocks are going into this chest right here. And look, in just that small amount of time, we've got like 3 stacks. So the math on this is a little bit weird, but this farm will give you at least 120 stacks of items per hour, which is quite a bit for just one farm. And so this is a really good, just all-purpose block farm. As you can see behind me, snow blocks are powerable by redstone, and they won't actually melt with torches or anything like that. If you want just a general construction block, this is a really good choice because you can get it super fast now and automatically. And if you ever wanted to see just about the fastest way to break a stone shovel, this is it. So we're counting, what is that, almost 10 seconds now? And it's gone. Iron lasts a little bit better if you have an iron farm, but you're still going to want to use diamond or netherite with enchanting and also with mending on these to make sure your shovels don't break. And as you can see, the redstone is really cheap for all this. It only takes just a few hoppers and 4 crafters and 2 observers. And next up, we have one of the ways that mob farms are going to become very overpowered. So what we have here is a little kelp smelter. And believe me, I know I just made a video about how bamboo is better than kelp, but that is for super smelters, and this is not a super smelter behind me. What I have behind me is a kelp smelter that is smelting cactus for my dye farm, in a compact way that'll use the bone meal from a mob farm to accomplish that. So right here we have a setup that is taking bone meal from a dispenser, and that is making a bunch of kelp out of that bone meal. And so right up here you'd have the input for the bone meal from your mob farm, which just for reference will give you around 4,500 bone meal per hour in what I was testing. So then all that kelp is being fed into here and fed into this cart, where it is going into each of these smokers that is smelting all of that using the dried kelp as fuel below. And all of those dried kelps are going into this crafter, where it is crafting the dried kelp blocks. And then we have a smart delivery system over here where all those blocks are being taken into all the backs of those smokers. And then every single time there'll be another one of those that is delivered into this hopper right here. It's hard to see back there, but it's feeding into this, which is going into this hopper, which is taking the surplus dried kelp blocks. Whenever it has enough, it will go and deliver them into these 3 furnaces, and these are smelting cactus for us. And even after all of that, there's going to be a lot of surplus for this, so all the rest of these dried kelp blocks are going into storage right here. And up here we have where the item you want to be smelted needs to be delivered, and this is coming from what would be a cactus farm for the dye farm. And so I plan on adding an updated version of that using this. I'll be making this whenever 1.21 drops, but for now we have this interesting puzzle piece that you can also use to farm other things. So the theoretical number of furnaces this can handle at once is 16 down here, so you could have a lot more than these down here. However, there are just some minor inefficiencies that I would say that might cost you a furnace or 2 just to be on the safe side. So in reality, I probably wouldn't do more than 15 or so down here. But you can expand this bottom portion out by a long shot from compared to what I have here. And that is only good for whenever a player is AFKing for the bone meal on this farm for it to be smelting that time. Otherwise, you would have to use all the dried kelp from storage. And right now I just have this dropper right here that's putting the output items down, and there would be some sort of water stream down here that these would be flowing into the farm. So to the best of my knowledge, this is a lot cheaper than some of the systems for this that I've seen floating out there. I know that Exuma made one. I'll go ahead and link that, which is a little bit more tileable, but I think a little bit less cheap than this one right here. So if you don't mind a little bit more of the redstone, this is a really good option for this farm. And lastly, we have a major improvement to my dye farm, which if you haven't seen was, to my knowledge, the very first farm where you could get every single dye in the same location. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested. However, this version for 1.21 will improve it to where it'll give you every single dye specifically and not just the items that would make any of them. This version will be automatically able to smelt the green as well, and it will also be able to use these base ingredient dyes to craft a lot of other ones back here, so where we wouldn't need farms specifically for each of these. So the way this is going to work is you'll have all of your item input from the farms above, and you'd want to check out my other design to see kind of what that looks like. And so the input items will be aligned and going into all of these hoppers right here, where we have the impulse item sorter back here, sorting them out from each other. And then once they're in each of these hoppers, they'll be pushed down into these crafters instead. So this will be bone meal coming into here for white. For green, it will already be smelted, so we don't have a crafter there. For red, it will be the rose bushes going into the crafter, which will be pushing it into this barrel via this redstone line right here. So for all the dyes that we're going to be farming the base ingredient and then crafting it, we're going to have this setup right here with the observers powering the crafters. And for all these dyes over here, which are normally just made by crafting, we have this setup where the base ingredients will be put down into this crafting system, which will then push them out in this water stream to where they will go up back into the water stream and then be sorted back into their correct spots over here. So the way this smart crafting will work is all of these can be combined to make different ingredients. So say we want some orange dye, which is made up of the yellow and the red. What we will do is we go and take one dye out for a reason I will explain later. So we'll take one dye of each, then we'll select these two colors with the new copper bulbs, which are very useful. And then we push this to start. And as you can see, the crafting system is spitting out the orange dye, which is then flowing back up into the item stream and is going to be sorted over here where we have the orange. And as we can see, these are flowing into right here. And so the way this will work is whenever the amount of dye runs out in this chest, it will automatically stop the farm below. And as you can see, this will use up all of the yellow dye that was in here, and then it will stop. And so we have just a little ways to go here. The way it works is there's two dispensers facing into this crafter, and whenever those empty completely, we will get the farm completely shut off. And see, there we go. And it sent out the last one into the water stream, and then it automatically stops. And then whenever we are done, we will go ahead and select these two colors. We make sure the machine is stopped, and then we'll go ahead and put those single items back in each of these chests. Basically, those single dyes being put back into the system tells us for sure whenever we have another dye that has run out completely, if that makes sense. So we need to have at least one in each of them to have these comparators be on by default. And so because we can craft lime now, this means that we will no longer need the sea pickle farm. However, it is a lot easier to go ahead and farm all of these other ingredients like pink and magenta rather than trying to make an auto crafter setup for each of them. Essentially, we just want to make a 2-ingredient crafting station right here, which is what this is, because it would be a lot more complicated to do 4 specifically and manage all the item flow with that. It's much easier just to keep the little farm above that is going ahead and giving us the ingredients for pink and magenta and cocoa beans and all those other ones as well. However, we need to drop the sea pickle farm because the sea pickle farm uses bone meal, and as you saw earlier, the new smelter system for green dye also uses bone meal, so we won't be able to use both of those at the same time, so we'll just have a bigger cactus farm to make up for that and farm a little bit more green that way. So I will have the world download in the description for this. Once again, once 1.21 comes out, I'll be able to get you guys schematics and actual tutorials for all of these. Right now, I'm just doing these as feature videos, so I'm currently not making any tutorials on any of these specifically, just because not very many people are actually playing 1.21 yet. If you haven't seen it already, go check out my new Discord, Spud Central, where you'll be able to talk with other people about redstone and my builds in particular, or just whatever you want. Once there's enough interest, I'll be starting up a survival server where we can all play together and talk about redstone and do all that stuff. So yeah, definitely head on over there and check it out if you're interested. If you like these farms or have other feedback, let me know in my Discord, preferably, where I can answer your questions quickly, or in the comments where I'll do my best to talk to you guys. And that's about all I have for you today. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you in the next video.